Flipping heck, it's more Bob. Okay, roof's on the car. Over there, tucked away, protected, painted, flatted, polished. Needs a little bit of touching up here and there, but on the whole, it's on the car. Woohoo! Sneaky peeky. Yeah, right, that's on. I covered it over and realised I hadn't videoed it. Sorry folks. Now, I am starting from the back end of the car and working my way forwards on the various panels that need to be worked upon. I've got this panel here, which kind of, it's the best I've got of all of the corner panels, the various corner panels, but there's a hulking great dent on it here. There's a big dent there, an obvious dent there. Might not actually be as beautiful as I was thinking it was going to be. Which is a bit of a faff, isn't it? Now, this is the passenger side one. So looking through the other items that I've got for that side, I've got this one. Fucking great holes drilled through it. Fucking great big dent at the bottom. I think that one's better at the moment. And then I've got Bob's original one, which, apart from holes at the bottom here, might appear to be, you know what, it's not bad actually. A little bit of, you know, plug those with weld. But then right at the top, it's rotted through. So what do? That's what I might do in the longer term, is to actually combine these two to make one decent panel, because that big old dent down there is not very attractive. Big old holes up here, I don't know what they're for, are not very attractive. I think what I'm left with is that is the best I've got, which isn't very good really, is it? So what I'm going to do, I think, I'm going to take the paint off it and I'm going to see what these dents are actually doing before I commit this one or not. The inside edge here is actually in serviceable order. I can work with that. Unlike the other one, which I bought, again, it's a matched pair for that one. It's got kind of this reflective strip on it. I don't know where they came from. That's got a dent at the bottom. That'll be, for now, that'll be fairly easy just to pop that out. And the rest of it is actually in pretty good order, apart from this closing edge down here, which looked a bit like that. It's quite common for them to rot out like that. Now, again, the problem I've got is I need to make up this lip here. That just needs a piece of steel welding in, and it needs a piece of steel welding in down here. And then I need to make up a swan or gannet or whatever that piece is, replicate it from this, plug weld it on. Nothing's easy, is it? They are what they are. And then these two other pieces. This is the rear floor where your heels go, the heel board for the rear passenger area. And I've cleaned all this up, obviously, apart from the 1001 holes that have been drilled in it, because the floor's been replaced and it's also been off-roaded, etc, etc, etc. This is kind of the main area. So what I'll end up doing is cutting this chunk out here, weld it in. That bit down there, I'm not going to go all the way down there, because most of this metal here is in pretty good order. So one splice here, one splice on the corner, one splice on this corner. Prep it, paint it, lob it off. Even on the underside, it's all in pretty good order. It's just these little bits here, up here. You can see, in fact, on the inside where the corrosion extends to. Just that bit. So it really just needs to be cut down there on the whole top section. I can make up that piece. This side, they're fine. And just this piece on the corner down here. And then the other piece I've got here, this is the piece that goes across the back end of the bonnet, back end of the bulkhead, and supports the rubber seal. Oh! We haven't done one of those for a while, have we? And it is literally just this edge here that I need to chop it off and just make up another section there and weld that on. Obviously it needs all the paint and stuff taken off. This is actually quite a good one, this one. Don't often get them this nice. So if you find them and they're really nice, grab them. I mean, obviously if you were making this out of a standard L section and welded another piece on the top there, you'd need to do some shrinking along this edge and some stretching along the other edge. So yeah, it's something that has been pressed. Right, that's that. Now, enough gabbing on here. I'm going to clean that bastard up. And you can watch me getting little bits of wire stuck in me. I might go over it. Yeah, I'm going to go over it with a wire brush to start off with. Concentrate on these areas where the damage is. I don't think there's any filler in it, but it's got like a whacking great big heavy duty mastic layer on the inside, so it's difficult to tell. Right, it's actually not that bad. So tools I use, the old zip wheel, wire wheel attachment on the angle grinder. Make sure you use a visor. I mean, I've got little bits of wire stuck in me all over. I'll probably find most of them tonight when I jump into bed. But you notice I did put my leather apron on as well. This dent, so we'll put the thing the right way up. There we are, that's the wing goes along that edge, the tailgate goes on this side. There's a whacking great big dent, as I said, right here. There seems to be something to do with that. There's an indentation there and there's a crease that goes up there. It's got some real nasty barbed wire scratches on it. I think it's been through a hedge. And then we've got a couple of dings, quite nasty dings here. So what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to heat them up and just see if I can pop them out. I am no panel beater, but if I get some heat into that and just give it a tap on the other side, it might pop out, it might not. This here, I'm not quite sure where the dent is. I want to get rid of this one first of all and then work something around there, but it really is quite a big dent going up there. The rest of it, apart from that, again, similar to that one up there, I'll just get some heat into it. The rest of it actually isn't bad. I got all the bitumen off the inside. I used my little Clark Air needle scaler chappy. Very, very noisy. I need the ear defenders for that. And it's a good job I did because it's probably very original and it is as brittle as you like. So all of that's off, and you can see in a couple of areas it had actually started just to put some surface corrosion underneath. And again here we can see the inside edge of that dent going up there. No idea what's caused that at all. It's possible that a thump there has pushed this that way. Possible, I guess. So what I'll do is I'm going to work on these two first of all. And I think then we'll see really where we're going with it. The rest of all this side piece down here is good. The front piece there is good. All of the aperture where the light needs to go is good. It's just that piece really. Even the edge along the top here looks good. It's salvageable. Just working out what I'm going to do with that. Right, pretty primitive panel beating, Richard, but it's been largely successful. So kind of shrinking the metal really around the middle of it after I've heated it up, and you can see the heat stayed around there. I've got it largely back into the right shape. Now, interestingly, top of the panel, I can see a fucking great big line now, right the way up there. I couldn't see that before. So that's why that dent has occurred, and that's the high spot right there. So I think that with some very light work on this, there's a high spot there. It's almost like it's clouted a post, boof, like that. Okay, probably something to do with the barbed wire fencing. There's a farmer somewhere who says, "Who put my fucking fence down?" Well, I'll tell you what, it was the guy that had this on his car. when he was doing a bit of green laning. So skim a filler over that, and let's have a work on this now. I don't quite know where it's going to go. I don't think it needs any heat, because obviously it's just fairly light dent on here. It's going to get a little bit loud, I'm afraid, folks, but you know, shit happens. So get the dolly the right way round. Let's put it on the back here. Now, high spot there. Just working the high spots out into making them very, very light low spots, so a skim of filler will fix it. Nice coffee. Where are we? About there. That's not bad. It was a curved shape anyway. In fact, I've got a curved profile to use on this. Again, pretty primitive stuff. Let's set that, and what we want to do, I guess, is well, the profile's about right. Now there's also a profile front to back, so let's check that as well. Well, it's high there, still high there. I think the problem is it's too complex as a curve. So front to back, oh, that's still warm. Front to back, we're not far away now. This top to bottom piece though, it's kind of, there's too many curves in there. I need to be able to say whether it's going to be a by eye job. What I'm trying to do is shrink the metal around the crease. So you don't want to be bashing the crease itself, but I'm just shrinking the metal around it. Think of it like pastry. Yeah? Don't want to be stretching it. There's a dent there. Can't do about that one. Okay, so it's kind of got as good as it's going to get. Really, just been trying to work on this area here. You can see it's like really quite a clear line there now, which I couldn't see before. Taking the edges off that, so that I can work there. There was also a dent along the line of the where the barbed wire's been, so that's all been done as well. What I'm going to do, because it needs a filler, I'm just going to zinc primer over both. When it's all gone off, I'll take this up and down it a couple of times. I can already see there's a low spot there, which will need to be bashed that way, as he eloquently pointed out. But from where we were with this thing, I mean, it's difficult to see because it's kind of still, the paint's still going off, but from where we were, and just with a very, very, very basic bit of tapping with a £60 hammer and dolly set, got it so that it is a world better than it was. You're all going to poo-poo my technique and my skills, and you're all going to say you weren't wearing a face mask, and you know, to what? Someone can show me how to panel beat, then fantastic, but until then I'll do it my way, which is a pretty ignorant way of sort of saying I need help. But I think for the best part of, what was that, 10-12 minutes or so, it's not bad. In fact, I'm looking at that edge now. Let's just straighten this out. Where's my straight edge? Where's my straight edge? is. Hello, straight edge. Oh my goodness. Here's the upper distance. Yeah, there's a low point there. But is that normal? Let's look at one of the others. No, it's not. So the others are level across there. So I'm going to need to work this area, and when I shrink that piece there, it may well find out that it pulls that even further. But once this paint's gone off, I'll just go over it with some very, very fine, like 400 grade paper, and see if we can find any obvious high spots or low spots. Right, so done that, and the only real high spots I've got, there could be some low spots in here, but I'll deal with that with filler. There's a high spot there, you can see. I've straightened this edge out, and that's the only high spot. There's a little high spot there, but nothing particularly serious. I can feel this one, I can't feel that. And then down here, I've got a high spot right on the edge here where I'm planning to film. So I need to kind of dress that back or do something with it. But it's closer, damn sight closer than it was. So all of this area here now is kind of behaving along with the rest of the panel. So all I'm really doing is going over with the panel, just following the contours of the panel. Not looking to take all the paint off it. I just want to find out where the bloody high spots are. You get my drift. And I think there's only really that one that I've got any real concern over. The rest of this I can deal with. I can live with that. Just that bit there, as I say, and that bit down there. Hope that's helpful. Well, it is for me. Right, where's Mr. Dolly gone? Where the fuck's he gone? There he is. You can see what I've achieved there is I got rid of that high spot and I created one up here. That's a bit better. Prepping this back wing ready for a coat of primer. So this is the burgundy wing, as you can see. Passenger side, because there's no filler on it. No filler hole on it. There's plenty of filler on it. There's a big lump of filler up here, which I'm not going to go any further with, because it's there for a reason. But what I've been doing is going over this thing, and whether there's any corrosion on the surface, I've been digging into it. And there's a good example there that really, it's almost like a defect that's underneath the paint, because you start seeing it work its way right the way underneath the paint. I don't know if it's just something aluminium does, or Burma Bright, or whatever this stuff is, but I've been taking it right back, really just to give the panel a fighting chance. I need to do that bit over there still. But I've been using my trusty Bosch professional heavy-duty orbital sander with its micro filter system, which is very good actually. It keeps the levels of dust down a bit, not a lot. And then just obviously using these discs. Now, I've not been going too coarse, except on this bottom panel here, which just had a wedge of filler in it, and it was bent all over the place, and there's a tear in the metal there. So I ended up using a 60 grit on that, just to really get it back so I could see roughly what was going on. The rest of it, I've been over with a mixture of 120 and then 240, and I'm going to put a filler primer over the top of it. Before I do that, it's going to need a zinc wash, and it's all really just on the bare aluminium parts, and this is something that Steve the Body told me I needed to do, and it is this stuff. It's a 1-to-1 mix with a activator, and you literally just dust it on. You don't put it on to any great depth, and it kind of comes up like this yellow stuff here, but this yellow is not the first coat. The black is the first coat. Okay, so the black is the first coat. So the black is likely to be some sort of edge primer that the factory put on this panel. But I haven't got the luxury of the black wash primer, so I'm going to use the yellow wash primer, which looks like that yellow primer there. So the level of coats on it, you can see the archaeology. So you've got a black etch primer, then you've got a 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 top coat. So I don't quite know whether this thing, because none of these are factory colours, unless it was white at some point. The panel might have been the creamy white, whatever the 1980s Davos white was. So it may well have been Davos white, so that could be a top coat there. And then it was primed and coated again. So it may have been painted a couple of times, but that's not really a problem. More paint on it, the better. So next thing for this really is, I'll just tidy up this piece over here, like I say. You can see, ultra close up, you can see the way that the primer is just starting to eat in under the edge of the paint there. Now if I start sanding that, let's get some, I'm just going to fuck around here with a piece of 100 grit, alright? If I start to just take that edge back there, you can see how the corrosion has now worked its way all the way over here. So way beyond where we originally saw a aluminium bubble. And the further I go, there it is, there's a little tail going down here somewhere. It's almost like, yeah. I'm going to have to go over this again with the 240, because I don't want too rough a surface before I end up putting primer on this. So what actually looked like a relatively small edge has actually gone back right the way around here, and all this paint just came off. I know I'm sanding with 100 grit paper, but the paint actually lifted off the metal, and I think it's actually a defect in the way the paint's been put on. Similarly down here, as I start to sand it, you can see the paint just falls off around where the corrosion is. And I think really, to give this thing a fighting chance, we really need to just dig into any areas where the panel has got corrosion on the surface, and make sure. We can't treat it because it's aluminium. I don't know how do you treat rust on corrosion on aluminium. All I do is take it back and make sure it's got a good solid coat of paint on the top of it. This piece down here is going to have a piece of lighting behind it though, I'm afraid. So I think the next step is a bit of it to split right the way up to there. Don't know how. And there's a big bend across this panel along there, because all of this lot down here was just filler, like that thick, centimetre thick filler, which is what's all over me. I'll get this in primer today. I'll get this, which is the end piece which goes on here, in primer. Those two can go into primer, then I can top coat those tomorrow. Well, I could probably end up putting the filler on them tomorrow and then top coat them afterwards. Bank holiday Monday. We're doing fitting out of odds and sods. I want to get a whole load of guff sorted out around the dashboard. Get the fuse box sorted out. I've got the wiper motor in. I've already tested that. The park isn't working, but I'm not entirely sure whether the park isn't working because of the dodgy switch I've got here or the back of the motor. It's not an issue. We'll be able to fix that. Heater motor. I thought I'd just quickly test it. So basically there's only two wires go to it. There's one earth wire which connects to everything inside the body, and then we've got one positive wire which goes to the back of the motor, and then there's a little, I guess, variable resistance. Is this thing going to stand up? It is going to stand up inside here, which there should be a pipe going to as well. Because when the motor turns, it sends cool air into the back of there, so that's fine. So let's put it into the no position, connect it up, high speed, blowing, low speed, blowing, offy, ram. Now this should be open now. It is. And low speed. Well, I can go straight in then, can't it? Worky McWorkface. Oh, yes. Oh, I like that. So basically what I did with the wiper motor is there's two green feeds. And as all the green feeds have been butchered and hacked apart on this particular car, it's just a case of connecting these two Can you see? You can. Connecting these two to the positive and connecting the earth to an earth point over there on the steering column, and then just operating the switch, and the wiper motor went in fast and slow but wouldn't park. Now, the park mechanism for these things is actually just behind here. You've got to undo these 3/4 inch screws, and then that back plate comes off. I will figure that out later on. I've got a spare motor over here, so I'll figure it out, work out what's going wrong, and if it does need the motor changing, then so be it. But the park switch is on the inside of this. I'll go through that. Yes, right, heater in now. And then for the 4 mounting points for the heater to mount onto the bulkhead, they normally come with a kind of piece of rubber like that, a cotton reel rubber, I think you call it, mount. Anyway, these things, I think they're unobtainium. I've not been able to find them for years. Now, last time I did this, I used Triumph Stag gearbox crossmember mountings, and they were rubber. Fantastic. This time you can't get hold of the rubber ones, you can only get hold of the polybush ones, so I've used these. It might seem massive overkill, but they do the job. They insulate the heater vibration from the actual car, and that's pretty much all I want it to do. And I've got the original bolts here. The original bolts go through the new washers, and there's enough thread on there to pull that in nice and tight. The other thing I've done here is I've got a new piece of foam to go around and insulate the engine bay from the car, because obviously these 2 copper pipes go through. In fact, that copper pipe's got a nasty nick out of it. The pipe goes on further than that. So those 2 pipes go through those 2 holes over there. You see that? Am I pointing in the right place? I'm pointing in the right place. There's also a seal that goes around. Seal that goes around up here. Whenever you see these doors, 2-door Range Rover 2 doors on eBay, this wasn't one, by the way. This was sold honestly, and they always say guaranteed rust-free, £1 million. Yeah, and they can justify that because it's rust-free. They never are. Here's more evidence for you that they never ever painted the reinforcing shell from the actual outer shell. It was all assembled, and then bare steel was put over the top of bare steel. When moisture gets in there, it just starts to corrode. Now, there's a couple of exploratory holes I drilled down here. There was a pinhole there. That is fine. There's no rust there at all. Probably going into a spot weld, but there is rust here. Now, on the whole, this thing is actually in pretty good order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to de-rust this area and just butt weld a slither of metal in there, and then put a slab of filler just over the edge of it. Now, I'm not just going to use filler just to make up the whole repair, but it needs doing. Sooner or later, though, this door is going to, continue to rust. I can't do anything about that, because without taking this piece out, which is kind of core to the door, then you're never going to get rid of the fact that there's bare metal in there. So there you go. All you folk out there, you've got your rust-free doors that are probably full of plop. That's what they look like when you just take the outer skin off. Nice, eh? Oh yes. Oh yes. Nice day today. It's been a day full of it. I haven't videoed any of it, unfortunately. I don't know why, it's just sort of got to the end of the day, but I put the various panels that I was working on yesterday, so the passenger side wing, rear corner, scuttle panel, and a couple of other odds and sods, like the kind of the bit that goes across here that supports the scuttle panel. That's all gone in on primer now. I'll get the top coat on that tomorrow. Then I started faffing around with the loom. Now, basically where I'm going with this, because the old fuse box was butchered, I've put a new fuse box in up here. It'll have blade fuses in it at the moment. So at the moment, it's got exactly the same as it would have had when it was kind of factory, running off 3 fuses. So these are the 5 green wires. One of those goes to the reverse light switches. There isn't a green wire yet. I suspect it's probably that one there. Yes, that's the green wire. So the green wire is for the heated rear window, which is over there. And I've then got 2 circuits. There's a brown feed and there's a white feed. The only thing on the brown feed at the moment is the 2 purple circuits, which is the interior lights and... oh, questions on the postcard. What was the other purple wire? They're both fused anyway. They will both be fused. I can't think of it. My brain's gone blank. This separate fuse down here, I'll just leave that. That's fine. not really an issue there. What I probably will also do is take the brown feed from over there that goes directly to the back of the light switch and run it through here so it's fused. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. When it comes to terminal post, I had a kind of slight rethink about all this. I was going to stick it up here, but then I was thinking, oh no, brake lines and stuff need to go up there. It's just going to get in the way of everything. So I'll put it there. Okay, it's not finished by any means, but it also means that the two wires for the starter relay and also for the internal loop can go direct to it. I've ordered up, because I was worried that at some point in the future it may end up with an up-spec'd alternator. So I've ordered a pair of 50 amp wires for that, and I've got a nice 110 amp wire that will go round from there to the back of the starter motor. Down there. Because the wire that I did have is probably about 70 amps, and I thought, well, again, if the alternator gets uprated, that's not beefy enough. So there you go. So 110 amp going from the terminal post to the back of the starter motor. I'm going to have two lots of 50 amp wire going from the alternator to the terminal post, and then that covers up-spec'd alternators, and it covers the feed going back to the back of the starter motor. Obviously, when it comes to the starter motor, you need to have at least, bare minimum, 120 amps continuous rating for the starter motor feed from the battery. Starter motors draw a huge amount of current, quite a lot when they're just kicking off. But once they get into a continuous kind of just turning over, chuntering over, they will settle down to something like around 120 amps. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, this is like a prehistoric starter motor on this. So that was that. So really, I think tomorrow, because it's 6:30 again, well, you notice the dash top went in as well, because I was just trying to work out exactly how I was going to get all this laid out, and obviously I had the heater hoses out as well, because the heater hose runs along in front of it. Lights are off in here. Yes, it was a step forward, isn't it? Oh, on this door, still working for some reason over the road. What I'm actually going to do, this is obviously the catch end. I'm going to take these entire pieces out, take them right off, and give it a flat edge, and butt weld, flush weld these pieces in. I mean, down there you can actually see the corrosion on the surface. Okay, I've treated it, but it just seems a bit daft. A couple of exploratory holes I drilled up here found there to be quite a high level of rot. So I think that's probably the easiest way of doing it. I don't want to take the whole thing off because I'll end up damaging the skin. So it's literally just taking these fuckers off and then butt welding, or just spot, because I want to get heat into it, and then skim and filler, paint it. And then it will match the driver's door. There we are, driver's door. This is the old skin from the driver's door, by the way. So on this one, there's no undulations or anything on that. I'm quite happy with that. So I'm guessing that when it came to these really early doors, the reason they moved away from this completely flat piece of steel was because they realised that there were no dirt traps in it, or not enough dirt traps. Maybe, I don't know. I should get that finished tomorrow, I'm sure. Yes, seems like a step forwards anyway. I need to get the distributor back in again. I unbound the wiring that I put together because I just wasn't happy with the spec of the alternator, and also just wanted to tidy things up a little bit. I had brown wires going through this connector and then looping back, and then, oh, fuck it, couldn't be arsed with it. So I ended up just unbinding it, and I'll rebind it again tomorrow. So this lot needs to be bound up. And then that's the start relay. I'll need to add another relay in behind the dash for the heated rear window, which I've got. I think I've got the wire up here. Yes, there it is. There's the wire. It's a white and black wire, and all the other wires, so the brown, the switch wire, and the ignition controlled fused feed are all here. For that, you can't see because it's pitch black in here now. Look at that. Yes, utterly useless, Richard. Right, I'm packing up. We've had rain today. It's been up to about 26 degrees and then it cooled down again. Most pleasant. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It was a laugh, wasn't it? Now, if you want to contact me, Churchill's Classics, it is all one word at gmail.com. And if you fancy supporting me, supporting the channel, rewarding me, buying me a pint, then there's a PayPal me link thing scrolling down here. You have to excuse my filthy face. It's the end of a long working week. I do wash every day. It's just the end of a particularly grubby day today. But anyway, subscribe. Helps my algorithms on YouTube. Give me a good old thumbs up as well, because I like them. Give me a thumbs down if you must. I don't like them, but nothing I can do about it. If you want to tell me why, comments down below. Down there somewhere. And yeah, keep an eye out. There's plenty more of this content coming.